Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam. Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Wow, the picture's pretty decent this morning. Y'all know usually sometimes there's trouble, but we're getting it together. Props is in the room. Hopefully you're pleased, sir, with the aesthetics of the appearance this morning. Very quickly, let's go in and say good morning. This intro still does it for me, of course, because you did it. Appreciate you, sir. Nah, it's actually very dope. Good morning, Lasagna. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, Ma. Good morning, Heidi, Teresa, Sharon Cornelius. Good to see you in the room. I'm going to come back in a few minutes because we do have a guest this morning. It is Testimony Tuesday here in the Java Cafe, and this young man is going to come and testify about some of the wonderful things that he's doing in media. And I will say this, in a time where there was a media event the other night, and there's so much conversation, opinions, conjecture, assertions about a lot of things, it's refreshing to speak with this brother in sort of the pre-convo and just hear a positive perspective about his experience here locally. And so any positivity we can get out of this conversation in the Java Cafe, despite all that's going on in the world, it's definitely dope. And so without further ado, we're going to bring this brother in. He has a wonderful bio and credentials, but I want you guys to kind of get to know him, to hear his passion behind what he does. And Props, you'll definitely appreciate today's topic with this young man that is a producer, a music supervisor. I don't know if the right term is scorer, but he scored films. And so without further ado, I would like to present to some and introduce to others in the Java Cafe, Mr. Malik Williams, who is an engineer, a producer, a musician. It looks like, from what I see on social media, a dad. And so welcome to the Java Cafe, sir. I'm definitely honored to have someone of your caliber here. Shout out to Evelyn and the team for making this happen. There's an event coming up, but good morning to you, man. Greet the audience and tell us how you're doing this morning.
Yes, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. Really, really great to be here. Really great to meet you finally, Jimmy. I'm looking forward to it in person sometime soon. Yeah, and shout out to Vladimir Minuti, Evelyn Brito, as well as Narissa Williams, who is our Secret Society of Black Creatives board team, so yeah, so I'm here. This is good.
I'm glad you're here, man, and I'm looking forward to talking with you. So tell us a little bit how you got started. You're from Boston, correct?
Yep, I'm from Dorchester, from Codman Square, Dorchester.
Codman Square, okay, right here in Codman Square. So you remember the Antonio Ansaldi store back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
One of the designers is in the room, so I'm sure he relates to this area of Codman Square. But tell us a little bit about yourself and why you landed, or how you landed in this area of media, musicianship, scoring, engineering.
Yeah, and before I do that, props to Props. Did you say the person that did the production for the intro was Props? Is that his name?
Yes. Yeah.
Props to Props, because I'm sitting back, so it's good to be in the green room, right? And I'm in my studio, and I'm listening, and I'm watching, and I'm like, but that's kind of dope. And then it says, only the host can see me, right? If you see me bopping. Anyways. But
thank you, man. Appreciate it. He's a good brother.
And get that excitement off my chest. So I grew up in Dorchester. Pretty much, my story is probably not going to Dorchester High, but going to Boston Tech. That kind of opened me up to like Boston, just other cultures, just other, just other forms of art and interest. I went to Wentworth for architectural and mechanical design. So that was completely different path from music. So my pathway into music at that time, playing in bands, meeting some friends, just doing some stuff, just kind of fiddle around and playing and stuff. I had a shoulder injury and I was out of work for a while. Went from Wentworth to UMass, and all I could do was read manuals and hang out at Wurlitzer back in the day. It's now kind of like Guitar Center now, but so that's how I ended up learning about like studio production. And from that point, like wherever I lived, I always had to, I went from just a bedroom studio, as we all start, right?
Oh.
So like, beds and dresses and all that stuff don't matter anymore. So we'll go from that to always having like a 2-bedroom, apartment. Always had to accommodate my studio.
Yeah.
And what happened was I started actually doing production for folks, and everything from, I'm a musician, as you said, right? So, writing songs myself, I'm a vocalist. So even writing 100% songs, doing that. I was in a band with some friends at the time as well. So that was kind of going on. Then I started on the business side, doing songs for, let's say if you had a poem, if you came to me and said, hey, I got this poem, I'm going to turn it into a song. So I didn't realize this until later on in life, but being able to read words to something which has an emotion attached to it, being able to figure out what is that, fast, slow, happy, sad, right? So that kind of was an interesting transition for me working in film and working in media production, where you have a visual as a composer, and then you're pretty much dictating whatever that emotion is by supporting it with sound. So that's kind of like what happened like later on. In between that time, from being in bands, I don't know if you remember R Jam in Dorchester, but it was a lot of guys in Dorchester. Bobby Brown, he's my cousin. So kind of having those experiences in Atlanta with him, and a lot of other things that I never would want to do with my life, like experiencing certain things and being like, yo, I'm out of here. I'm going back to Boston. I don't want this. But that got me into more of the business of music and understanding, publishing and music licensing and a lot of the things that I do right now. And again, while that was going on, coming back, and the kind of interesting story is I worked with, instead of working with Bobby like on the road and all that kind of stuff, I worked with Jordan Knight from New Kids on the Block.
Okay.
So I was his production manager on his world tours. So that took me away from Boston, took me away from everything outside the country, having a lot of experiences there. And that reminded me how much I needed, like I was away from creativity as a production manager. One of my, the agreement I had with Jordan to go on the road was I need to have my gear, right? I got to have my stuff, my portable gear, my hotel room, and create while I'm on the road. Cause you're living out of a suitcase forever.
Yeah.
So I realized that wasn't happening. Because anyone that's been on tour before realizes that you can't even sleep. We're sleeping on floors everywhere we are, in airports and all that stuff. So the idea of being able to kind of focus, to be creative on the road, that just wasn't happening. So when I came back home, that's when I kind of got more into like film and TV opportunities that kind of came up, working with a publisher out in New York. I used to do music for like Young and the Restless, All My Children, a lot of these places, like these type of productions that you wouldn't even think that, like me as a city kid, I wouldn't think that I'm working on a soap opera, right?
Okay.
But what happens generally in that sense, somebody says, especially back in the day, it's like, oh, we got the scene and we want an Usher song, right? But we can't afford Usher. So we need somebody to be able to create that, right? So I would get those calls. Yeah. So, I get those calls. So either I had something already that worked, and again, as a vocalist and having my own studio, I could literally pretty much lie, because they'd say like, hey, I need a song about rain. And I'm like, yeah, I think I got something like that. And then I just stay up overnight, right? And submit it the next day, and it's on a TV show, right? And that stuff happens like super quick like that as well.
Okay.
And so, but that's when I also realized that I was able to do that, right? I had certain skills as a musician, certain skills as an engineer. I don't know if you can see my booth, but
listen, I see the booth, and the first thing that stands out is you have a red keyboard. So
yeah, I'm a little extra.
No. Red is. Did you say how
you got the cup? But I seen your cup online, and I was like, yo, that cup is kind of nice.
Please don't get prop started.
Nothing but love. No, but so what happened from a technical standpoint, and anyone that does production knows that they got, like, if they're a rapper or a singer or whatever, you got to pull a mic over to wherever you're working, your workstation, and record from there. I had one friend one time when I was in the booth try to record me, and he deleted my whole session. So I was like, yo, I got to figure this out. So what I did is, you can't really see my monitor, but I actually have, if you can, well, you can see.
I can see the booth, which is kind of dope because the booth is see-through from top to bottom, which you don't see a lot of booths like that.
Yeah. There's curtains in there just for as far as sound, if I can figure out. But some artists, they don't like to be seen sometimes, right? Yep. So that's what that's all about. But yeah, that was a little something I felt like I just do that a little bit different. But in there, I have my keyboard and monitor and everything. So if I'm working on a session out here, I can just go in there and I can operate my whole session in there. If I'm doing a voiceover, if I'm doing vocals, something, that kind of thing. So that just kind of just enabled me from a technology standpoint to be able to kind of be self-functioning, you know. But that was that thing. And then, you know, moving on again, just being a songwriter, you know, I always believe, like, you know, if like you create it, right, and then it's like, what's that saying? Like, you know, you create it and they'll buy it or whatever. You know what I mean? But that's what I would do. So like, again, just, you know, being able to write different genres. I remember I started working with like Progressive Insurance and different ad agencies. I'm sorry, brands like that, working with ad agencies at the same time. And I went from being like this urban guy doing like hip hop and R&B to someone saying, hey, we need this song. It's this quirky song for Progressive. So if you know, all the Progressive commercials tend to be a little bit more comical or just a bit quirky. So I end up just, you know, I got one of those requests for a creative brief came over, and I was like, all right, I'll do this. They didn't know that I was a musician writing like rock songs and all the rest of this stuff, right? So I ended up doing that, and then that just kind of opened up, you know, myself for people just understanding, like, okay, well, he's not just, you know, because of the color of my skin, you know, like this person, that part. So I don't know if you know, I'm like very like unapologetically Black. Okay. Anyone on social media probably knows that.
We can go down there.
Yeah. I always go down there anyways. But no, like literally like in the industry, and that's what happens, right? So when it comes down to being a musician, you don't want to be known for that. You know, Prince said this a long time ago. You don't want to be known for doing a certain style of music. You want to be just as a creative person in creating, right? So you don't want to be in a box. So that's a part of my story in regards to the creative aspect. Moving on, you know, MTV, VH1, Cribs, Pimp My Ride, Jersey Shore, like all of those TV shows.
So I gotta, hold on. They didn't tell me I had a celebrity up on the show today. Jesus,
I started out with Dorchester. I'm a Dorchester kid.
We can go down a whole nother road there, and we will for just about 15 seconds. And so what I hear from you is, if you don't mind, what generally, well, how old are you? Let me just ask.
I'm 55.
So we're the same age, not same age. I'm 5 years under you. But we grew up sort of in the same time period. There was so much going on in our community and whatnot. And I kind of don't like this expression. You had opportunities to be refined and expand your exposure. Let's frame it like that. Some people would say you had an opportunity to quote unquote get out. What is it that you would say real quick to pull you into sort of this mentor space of somebody that may watch? What is it that you would say to young people out there right now that have creativity, that are still struggling? What is it that you would say to them as far as staying committed to their craft despite life circumstances? And I know we weren't maybe supposed to go here in the question.
No, I'm glad you went there, because it sounds really rosy, like everything I'm talking about, because I'm kind of joking at the same time. Like, you know, my personality, like, again, just like our pre-conversation, right? It's just, I shoot from the hip. I'm pretty straight. People that know me, right? I don't feel like I did, you know, like I toured or I did anything that makes me any better than anyone else. It's an experience, right? And there's a lot of positive and negative things that we derive from these experiences. What people might not know, it used to be like being ashamed of how you grew up, but now as an adult, like I was a welfare kid, right? I had 9 brothers and sisters. I had parents that didn't like each other, right? When I was a teenager, I got really lucky when I went to Boston Tech, and that only kind of gave me a different path, right? Because a lot of my friends aren't here anymore, right? So all of us growing up in the city, we either know like some of them are still locked up, some of them aren't here, right? So those challenges are things that I dealt with. I used to dream about food, right? So when I talk to kids and I do the mentorship aspect of who I am as a person, that's probably who I am more so than anything else, right? Because in a director I was working with about 5 years ago, we had a sidebar, it was supposed to be a production meeting, and he asked me, he was like, what is your why, right? And I thought about that. I was like, whoa. And this is a dude, we did some Reebok stuff and some other, cool brands, right? And I'm thinking, why did he ask me that, right? Now, he was a musician as well, so we kind of vibed. But the only thing I could think of is like humanity and people, right? And so the last 5-6 years, I think it may be more than 5 or 6 years, but the last 5 or 6 years in everything that's gone on in the world, right? And my creativity and who I am still brought me back to what we're doing today with Secret Society, Connect, all these things are all my why. And before I was thinking, I got to come up with some grandiose thing to tell him, right? But my why really was just me and my existence. Why am I here, right? So as a person from the streets, we've done all kinds of things we weren't supposed to do, right? When we were coming up. And again, the outcome could be positive or negative. I was lucky, so I've always been grateful to be around people. Getting into music opened me up for creativity. So my why was always, why do I exist? Like, I can only be so cool, right? I kind of joke around with my friends sometimes when we're talking about this stuff, but I've been cool for a long time. What does that do for you, right? What does that do for the audience? What does that do for our community? Absolutely nothing. And in this town, we have people in the state, we have people that have had that kind of success, right? Ongoing for years and years and years. And if you look around, there's like 0 success stories that have come from it. So my thing is, I don't need to be some millionaire guy traveling around, like some of my background is, Grammy, I'm a voting Grammy member, right? Sounds really cool, but it's about professional development. So when I talk about that, it's about sharing like, hey, do you realize these resources are here? So the Audio Engineer Society, people don't know about that global organization. I'm on the education committee with that. I've been a member for a long time. People don't understand that, right? So all my friends, especially anyone that in Black and brown folks, if there's an event going on with the Engineering Society or even Grammy, I'm like, yo, just go and tell them that I sent you. Go talk to this director that's there. And guaranteed every time, 100%, no problems at all. So it's all about access, right? It's all about awareness and it's all about access. So like I said, Jimmy, if I saw you somewhere, I would go up there because I know DL and I know, Daniel Loren, I saw him talking about you.
Yep, he's on.
Right. So I'm like, yo, that's my brother. So if he's in the room or not in the room, he knows I'm just going to text him real quick. Yo, Jimmy's in here. Just hit him up. Let him know. Matter of fact, if that doesn't happen soon enough, I can go and drop his name and you're going to know automatically.
Absolutely.
Right. So that kind of thing. Vidal, he left a comment, I think somewhere. I don't know if he's on here now. Vidal, V.
I'm going to look. I'm going to look. You keep talking.
Or if it was on Instagram.
Okay.
But when I saw his comment, I meant to reply, and I like to reply with like my black fist in my hearts and everything else to show love back to my brothers. Sure. And so that's what I've been on because I realized like, yeah, I could be cool. I did all these things. My resume does show a bunch of stuff. That's all great. But how do I actually kind of create more of me? Right. And I had to struggle. Like I'm 55 right now. Right. That's not young. It's like I'm not so old.
Time out. 50 and 55 is the new 35.
Oh, yeah. That's young. But you know what it is?
Wait.
I'm young enough to be on the show with you right now. Keep it very real. And if any young brothers and sisters hit me up, and I'm always like that on social media, no matter where I do a talk, no matter where somebody sees me, listen, find me online. This is my email. This is my number. Shoot me a text. Let's get on the phone. Let's talk. Let's figure it out. I've been Zooming with folks as much as I can do, especially over this pandemic, right? Because everyone's trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out. All these production people that are doing these big movies and films, and everyone's trying to figure it out. So I realized that, I do have that to give, right? Some people don't have that bandwidth. I'm grateful because I do have that bandwidth to really listen and understand and figure out what's important to you. It's not what's important to me. You know what I'm saying? So, people say like, what's that golden rule? Do unto others as you have them do unto yourself. Yep. I believe in treating you how you want to be treated. Right. So it's a little bit different. So if you like fish, I'm not going to take you to a steak restaurant to get steak. Right. So it's all about me having a conversation respectfully regardless, as a human being, and then learn like, okay, you know something, this is what they're all about. He or she, young or old, doesn't matter. So we're all learning from each other that way. And that's just a general respect that I try to have for people. That's why the cool word doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant how cool I am, because it's a matter of how can you and I build as a community? How can we build as brothers and sisters? And I'm big on inclusion. So I live in Randolph, and I'm a founder of the DEI committee out here in Randolph. Again, Audio Engineer Society and a whole bunch of other music organizations. My son plays cello. There's an organization called Project STEP. I'm going to say this out loud because if anyone in our community has children that's like between 4 and 5, there's a program called Project STEP where you can get your child in. And my son earned a scholarship. Nobody even knew I did music, but that's open to our communities. But how would you know unless I get on my soapbox and talk about that? So it's not about me. It's about me sharing opportunities that everyone looks at like, oh, you got this going on. Even Bobby Brown, I mentioned that name, right? Keep it real. Think about that story. He's in a really great place now, doing really well. It was an extremely toxic environment back in the day. Mm-hmm. So I was lucky that even though I didn't have money and I didn't have stuff growing up, I had parents that taught me some self-respect for the most part. And again, when it comes to hanging out in clubs and everything else, you know, that we did back in the day, right? If you can imagine, it's a matter of saying, wait, what's going on here? What am I going to do with my life? Right. And literally, I used to leave. I used to drive back from home from Atlanta, you know, at 2 a.m, just like leave, like, yo, this ain't cool. And most people won't really understand that. But the big picture, like I think about it now, it's like, had I stayed, you know, back in the day, Maurice Starr, New Kids on the Block and all this stuff. I remember dealing with these guys and going to them, looking at them as big brothers. Right. And just them just taking me down a really bad negative path. So as an adult now, I'm like, yo, like I wonder what would have happened to me if I did that, you know? And it's a gamble, right? Maybe I would have had success, but I wouldn't have been able to grow the way I grew and mature the way I matured. Because again, look at everybody else that's in these circles and what's going on. Now I'm hoping that there's people out there that might hear what we're doing and say, wow, I didn't know there was another crew out there doing this stuff. I want to do this with them. Right. Because so we're just pretty much.
Let's go into that, because one of the things is, and I know there's this trend on social media, you met the assignment, and I had told Malik in the beginning that we'll start off with an introduction so people know more about him, because I just believe that if I'm bringing information to the community, that I want to kind of vet, you know, who the person is and ensure that the audience understands their background. Sir, when I tell you that, you know, the first thing that resonated with me was you talked about humanity as far as your why. You talked about creating more of you. You talked about awareness. You talked about inclusion. These are tenets of the Java. These are personal things of my values, and then they transcend into tenets of the Java Cafe. And I told you before, even after this, we're going to need to keep in touch, because I just love your spirit. And your cadence as far as wanting to give back to community. And you talked about access and just wanting to help someone else. Because the purpose of you being here, we're already at 9:27, but as long as you can go, I can go. Let's talk about the secret society of Black creatives. In general, it's needed. But in a post George Floyd, what we learned about everything in the pandemic about Black and brown people that we already knew, and it was just exacerbated the past 2 years. Why is there a secret society of Black creatives? What is the need? What is the foundation of creating it?
So we created this. One of the things is Vladimir Minuti, Vlad. He was on my social media for a long time. Now, Vlad has directed a lot of really, I think, great brands. Like, I'm sorry, he worked with different brands that you would see. You know, his website is vladimirminuti.com if you want to check that out. But he has a show on Hulu. I think it's in the 3rd season now, called Your Attention Please. One of the things that stuck out, he was directing on a brand called Fanatics. If you guys know Fanatics, the sporting gear, like the football shirts and all that stuff. So all those commercials you see on TV, those are Vlad. Vlad and I had a bunch of mutual friends. And it was interesting. I heard about him for a very long time as another brother, but I didn't know him, right? So in 2020, he and I were we were on a panel for the Mass Film Office, and they were doing a similar type of like workshop for Black and brown folks in the community on Saturdays. And before I got off of that, because we were on screen, and I was like, bro, I'm gonna email you. Let's find a time to talk, right? Because I still didn't know, I didn't know him like that way, right? So you never really know what somebody's take is going to be in anything, right? So we talked, started off very business-like conversation, and then he said something really silly to me, because we have mutual friends. I was like, there's no way you'd know that unless you know my friend. So that was the icebreaker. So then we started talking about our community, our creative community when it comes to advertising, right? So I'm the only, in the Mass Production Coalition, I believe I'm the only Black composer as a member. And I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of members there are, right? There's obviously other composers, and there's other composers in the state, Black composers, right? But not in this organization, which is like, pretty much a coalition for everything media, film coming through Massachusetts, right? So even with the Mass Film Office, I look around and I see nobody else that looks like us. So that was the conversation we had. And I was like, Vlad, you ever realize you're directing something and I'm never doing the music? It's like they take one house Negro from one platform and put us on another, like literally, right? Because there's only so many of us. And I don't know if it's intentional, but that's the way it feels. I'm being really honest, right? That's the way it feels. And where's all the field Negroes? There's no field Negroes out here. That's interesting as well, right? So literally that was the conversation. He was like, yo, I got an idea. So that was it for me, right? He was like, I got an idea. And then we didn't know each other that well. And this is about a little over a year ago or so, I want to say. So we decided to reach out to some folks in our network, only a handful of us that are working in film, right? I'm sorry, in advertising in particular. It's difference between working in film, doing documentaries, community things, music videos, that kind of thing, and working in advertising, which is way more corporate, right? And the barrier to entry is so much more difficult if you don't know anyone in there. How do you go and network? Like most people in the city won't even know that. Again, that's why we're doing what we're doing. So because of that, I was like, okay, we jumped on the Zooms. Vlad, it was shortly after he was like, hey, let's get on the Zoom. I think it was maybe 7 of us on there. And I tried to invite whoever I could invite to it. And that's how we kind of started. And we were a secret society. Actually, this is Vlad's idea and his name. And we were all like, yo, that's dope, right? And Vlad, as an illustrator and everything that he does professionally, his pitch deck to us was just like so on point, right? So, and it was the whole PowerPoint pitch deck of secret society, who it is, our why behind why we're doing what we're doing, our mission statement, everything. You can go to our website, by the way, it's SS Blacks Creatives. It's the Secret Society of Black Creatives. So it's ssblackcreatives.com. So you can see our mission and everything on there. But that, it went from us being on these DEI committees with the state and other organizations and nobody really doing anything quickly. And my thing is like, well, this is silly because all you got to do is hire somebody. You know what I mean? This is like the era of George Floyd where everyone's like, oh, let's open up our wallets and let's try to help some Black kids, right? Come on, just hire somebody. Just say hi, come out into the community, show up.
Say hi and hire. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, just say hi. Hey, have you ever done this before? Did you realize this opportunity is here? Something, hey, this is my card. Give me a call. Matter of fact, I'm on social media. Hit me up on there. Whatever the deal is, I know as somebody experienced that it took me a long time to realize that was just what we had to do. Part of it is probably just being from the hood, right? It's like we always have to go and create what it is. We always have to learn more about whatever that is that we want to do to go. And you got to learn the game in order to play the game, right? That's pretty much what we all learned growing up. So it's the same thing corporate wise, regardless of what industry you want to be in, just learn the industry. Now your access, your barrier, to entry. A lot of us think like, if I go in that room, these white folks, I don't know, right?
It's real.
And I realized that, yeah, that is true. But guess what? You got to go in that room. Going back to me, when, not having money and not having anything handed to me, I drove to New York. I don't know if you guys like with music societies, PROs, performing rights organization, ASCAP, BMI, being a songwriter. I encourage young people like, listen, if you're writing music, go online, ASCAP.com, BMI.com, go sign up as a writer. Guess what? They're going to start sending you stuff in your email. And it used to be in the mail. show up to that event because it's free. And that's what you need to do over and over and over and over again. That's what I did. I had no money. I used to go to New York, either take the bus, Fenghua, whatever it was, call up somebody, get to New York, right? ASCAP would have a thing. I used to go with one of my boys. He was with BMI and I was at ASCAP. So depending on who had an event, we show up to New York. Now, already being in New York already is just like Hollywood, right? So you're in New York, you already have entrance to this event. So once you're already allowed in, then after the fact, again, we had to figure out how we're going to get home. That was already one thing. But we stood outside in Times Square, the Marriott, just talking to whoever we could talk to coming out, right? You scan the room when you get in there, try to figure out, you listen to what people are talking about, listen to where they are with their careers, that kind of thing. Because you can tell who's on the panel, right? And who's asking certain types of questions. So you do that work. You know what I mean? Back in the day, we didn't have the internet. It's way, way more easier now, right? There's a book called Everything You Need to Know About the Music.
Yeah, brother, the green one.
Yeah, in 96, my attorney that I was working with, she told me, she was like, Malik, I'm not even going to work with you unless you read this book, right? And again, that was my thing. I was like, oh, shoot, I don't know nothing about this. Let me go ahead and do that. I still use that book as a reference when I teach today, right? So I think it's on the 10th edition, something like that. But and there's other ones, right? But again, all these publications are all online, right? And you don't have to go out and afford that book, but you can just go on YouTube, right? And learn. And the thing is, if you're not a musician, get around musicians. If you're a singer, right? Because when you're talking about music licensing and a lot of things like that, I can go on forever. But it's just a matter of like, am I creating this intellectual property that I can sell? Right? That's the thing that most people in our community don't know. And guess what? Most people in colleges don't know that. So when I do a talk at a school, I do a lot with like Bridgewater State and Tufts University, and then all the way down into Connecticut, University of New Haven, wherever they have like music or film programs. Sometimes people will ask me to come out, and this is all like, contracted work that I'll do. But I'll realize in those classes where people are privileged to be there versus the people in our community, they don't know. So if I can take that knowledge on the street and give it to somebody on the street for free, I'm not even looking for anything. I'm looking to build so we can all create something bigger. And inadvertently, I'm building my brand at the same time, right? So that's the positive outcome. I did that with the Boston Music Awards. I know a lot of people around town because I was the first Black person on the board of the Boston Music Awards. A lot of people don't know that. But that was a negative situation that I turned into a positive situation just by holding my ground. Something got written up in the Boston Globe about me saying something out loud, which was an editor reading an email I sent and calling me up on Monday morning. Can we publish this? And I'm like, yeah, publish it. I don't care. Right. One of the music awards had some issues, told
around diversity.
It was about, I told them I went with Bobby this year. It had nothing to do. Well, it was a coincidence that they were all going. I'm backstage because, again, with the tour experience and all this other stuff, I'm back.
Hold on, Malik. Evelyn, we're going to Evelyn's going to talk more about the event. We're going to get there, but Evelyn, I think, Evelyn, you know me, and this man has resonated with so many of my values, and I know the purpose why we're here, and we're going to make sure that we talk about the event. I'm going to pull him back in, I promise, but
yeah. Pull me back in. I'll go.
No, you good. Finish that, and because there is so much that has exuded out of you that is away from your skill set. Skill sets come dime a dozen, but if there's not the right spirit and energy mixed with that skill, you're only going to be limited and go so far. And so this is why you're been able to excel the way that you excel because of your posture, in life. So Evelyn, we're going to get back to it, Evelyn. We promise. We got the link. Go ahead, sir.
Well, that being said, so everything that I'm talking about is leading up to why we're doing what we're doing anyway, right? Yep. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these DEI committees that are out there, and I've been frustrated, right? Even Engineering Society and all this other stuff, right? They prop a Black person up there, right? If that Black person, and I've been on like global Zooms with the Engineering Society, they have something called She Knows Tech, right? Which is all women engineers. First thing, like I'm the bald head Black dude on this worldwide thing with people in Italy and Australia and everything else. Appreciative of it, but I'm also going to keep it real. And I told them, listen, the elephant in the room is where's all the Black women engineers, right? Where's all the Latino engineers? I don't see them on this panel. So therefore, this whole diversity of white women stuff, no, that doesn't work. And I don't care what anybody says about that, because at the end of the day, if you're in that position, white woman, your job is to reach out and understand what this whole movement is all about. It's all about inclusiveness, right? So if you're white, you should be including other people, right? If you're black, you should be including white people. I'm good with that, right? Anybody that knows me knows that I've done everything that I've done with an inclusive mindset, right? And again, that has all to do with respect, and that has to do with community. So if you're from my community, you're going to actually be my neighbor that happens to be white, and we grew up and we end up being family and brothers or whatever we are, just like our high school friends, right? You're still included, but your job is to understand what's important to me as you want me to understand you. But we're minorities, so they're used to just doing their thing. They're not used to saying like, oh, shoot, I heard something like this could possibly happen to a black person. I better be aware of this. As a matter of fact, let me ask my black friend, hey, Jimmy, are you familiar with any of this thing? Has this ever happened to you? So you have to self-educate yourself as a white person, and people don't think that they need to do that, right? So I'm to the point where I grew up with no money. I don't need your money now. How about that, right? I'm going to create my own money. I'm going to work with my own people if that's the case, right? Now, if you actually have some integrity and you really feel like you want to, understand, but you don't know how to help, well, we're right here. We're open. We'll be at the Connect. Come down and hang out with us. We're at Secret Society of Black Creatives. Again, like I invited some of my friends, my white friends, right? Because there's some of us that I trust as my brothers and sisters, and they get it. So if I trust you and you get it, yeah, absolutely. I need your help. You know what I mean? I need your help to try to get this knowledge out to my folks in our community. And inadvertently, again, we all work together. So the Connect happening on this Saturday coming up is really just all about that. The film office, you'll see all the logos on there. These all like a lot of prominent companies in the community that folks should, get to know. And there's a lot of knowledge and education, by coming to meet them or even following up on their websites and being a part of that network. That's what we want people to kind of understand. Number one is, where are you at in life right now? If you're interested, let's look at what you're doing. Let's look at your skill set and let's figure out how to transfer those skills, which, transferable skills is one of the things that we're focusing on. If you're a carpenter and you're doing labor work, guess what? You could be building sets, right? Narissa met a girl at a cleaner. She's a seamstress. Well, guess what? You could be working in wardrobe. Our folks do hair and makeup, all these different things. Nobody's coming into the community and saying, hey, you know something? You're pretty dope at that. Like, you ever think about doing this? So it's, we're trying to lead people to the opportunity, but because we're from the community, we want to be the ones to say, listen, we're doing this at the Roxbury Library. We're not doing it elsewhere, because people had other suggestions and everything else, which is cool. I think it's great, but we have to start and we have to focus on the things that we know that, this is why they have Black people on DEI communities and all these, committees and all these corporate jobs, right? All these corporations have Black people on that they're plucking to put on there because they have zero clue about what they're doing. And all the Black people are sitting back like this. Oh, come on, you serious? Y'all still haven't figured this out? So because they haven't figured it out, and I've been involved for a very long time with people not figuring it out, and they haven't even figured it out to just call me up and hire me, I say, something, we're just going to handle it. All good. You wanted to put all this energy into your corporate DEI. Well, now we have our corporate DEI. Bring that energy back over to us. And then now we're still achieving the same goal, because this is what you said you wanted to do. And it's all good, right? Everybody should be pretty happy about that. Of course, not everybody's happy about that. We already know the story. But at the end of the day, we feel like we're working with some partners that do get it, right? They do understand what's going on. The film office, and being able to work with a lot of these organizations, the Audio Engineer Society, like a lot of people that I came up with, they do get it. So all of us being in the same room on the same mission is really something that in my lifetime has never happened. So that's the thing. And if we can get other people that have other resources and means to be involved, if there's other celebrities in town that want to actually come and say, oh, shoot, I didn't know, right? Because there's been years and years and years of people that maybe could have figured out, but not everyone's able to do that. I get it. Not everyone can business develop, right? Not everyone can touch the community the way we need to touch the community, right? And we all know, things that have gone on in town where people come in and like, oh, look how cool this is, right? when they could be taking that energy, going to City Hall, go sit with the mayor and the governor, right? And go say, hey, you know something? I'm a celebrity. I can draw attention. Why don't you use me to go and fundraise for this community? It's really simple. It's right, really, really simple. I'm not a millionaire. Like at the end of the day, I can do this. I've been doing it, right? City of Boston and all these organizations, all I did was say, actually my brother Daniel, DL helped me out a lot, right? Just kind of facilitating, but it's me looking at him. My number one goal was, how do I elevate DL, right? I'm not trying to ask you to do nothing for me unless we can do it together. And I'm true to that. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm true to that, right? Again, I try to, I'm a little bit facetious. At the end of the day, it's like, I can only be so cool, right? It's like at the end, like it doesn't matter, Another personal story, 2 of my brothers passed away in 2012. My little brother was a suicide, right? And again, I'm very open with sharing these things just because we all experience things. And I don't like to be looked at as above the law. But my little brother was a suicide. He was like super close. If you saw him on the screen, you might think he was me, right? He was 38 years old at the time. And my brother that got me into music, just older than me, passed away 1 week after we buried my little brother, right? And it was crazy. So going through all that, and again, I have 6 sisters. My mother's still, thankfully, had to deal with all of this stuff. I mean, thankfully she's healthy and everything else, but trying to protect them, trying to protect everyone. So that's been my job through my whole life, pretty much, right? Trying to do that. So in reality, I don't look at it as wanting anything, but it's the reality of what matters, right? What really matters. My little brother's not here no more. My other brother's not here no more, right? We all have those experiences, of people that we love that aren't here anymore. So what kind of value can you put on that? How much money can you give me right now to make me happy? 0. And I realize that, you can give me $1 billion. It's not going to make me feel any differently. So I looked at that when I was going through that depression, and I was going through a lot of different things, concern. And I didn't realize I was depressed for like a year because I was just worrying about everyone else, taking care of everyone else, and all the drama that goes along with deaths and funerals and all, all that kind of stuff within families, right? And I realized that nothing really matters. Only thing that matters is making an impact on your life.
Oh my God.
That's on this thread. So what's it we're trying to do? Back to the connect, right?
No, because
it gets on me. That's what we're trying to do, because that's who I am. Like, this is the experience I have. I have community. I have a gift of being able to, kind of discern and connect with people. And so that's my gift. I'm bringing that gift there because guess what? I can hook you up with everybody else that I know, and I can go home pretty happy. Hopefully you blow up and just maybe you give me a job. You know what I mean? No, not even that. You blow up and we can work together. That's actually it is. I'm not looking for nobody to give me no job. I'm looking for somebody that we can build with. We need to build. All these movies are coming into Boston, into Massachusetts, and all these opportunities are there, right? We need Black studios. We need opportunities for people to come in, absolutely, and make an impact. So we're trying to, thank you for that comment. We're trying to make that kind of impact that matters. You know what I'm saying? So again, my only enjoyment really, again, in life, you mentioned family. I'm all about children. I'm way anybody looking at my social media knows that I'm all about my own children, right? So that's what I'm looking at. I didn't have that opportunity. I tell my son now, because they're spoiled, right, with quads and everything else. I grew up on motorcycles, like having to work to get one. But like, my father was into it, my brothers, all that other stuff. But I grew up and I look at my kids now and I'm like, yo, y'all are spoiled. Y'all have no idea. Like, I didn't even have food. Like, I dreamed about food back in the day. Like, I literally dreamed about food. Woke up in the morning thinking my dad came home, because he'd come in, he'd be out gambling and whatever, he was doing. He was self-employed for a while, got sick, heart attack and everything else. And he was a hustler, right? So, but he'd go out, try to make money, however he'd make money, come home. Sometimes there was food. Sometimes there was not. Literally, I don't know if you remember those old school refrigerators that have the basket that swings out down the bottom, right? And he might call at 2 a.m, waking us up, get down there and clean out the refrigerator. I got food coming home, right? And we have to be in there chipping at the ice to get the frost off the basket because there was no food in there for so long. The frost grew around the basket, right? So think about that as a kid. Now, back then it was survival, right? A lot of people in our community know survival. Back then, it was all about survival. As an adult, I'm like, oh shoot, like I didn't even realize I did that. But even fast forwarding, I went to Wentworth. I was determined to go to school, you know, and I survived off a coffee pack every day because my friend worked at a coffee supply place, and he'd give me like those things that you get, the little coffee pack, you know, that look like the sugar packs. And I put those in my book bag, and I go get a cup of water from the canteen, and that was it. And that's what I survived. And I was lucky if maybe one of my friends at lunch would be like, yo, dude, I got a lunch card. You want a burger? And I'd be all prideful and stuff. Nah, I'm good. Starving like anything. But anyways, like I worked since I was 11, painting houses, shoveling horse, like everything I've done. So therefore, but it only created me to be who I am, right? And I look at that and I still have more, right? I still feel like I have more to share. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't have it, right? So, but I realized whenever I did have it, I give it all away. Problem.
Malik, Evelyn, leave us alone, because this man, somebody out, I know I do, but somebody out there, and we're going to talk about the event. We put the link up. But I think more importantly that people, all the wonderful skill sets and everything, and all the wonderful partners, y'all see Java with Jimmy up there too, is I think a lot of folks that are hearing the spirit behind someone that's in leadership with this organization, all the wonderful partners and skill set is cool. But to hear this man's philosophy and approach is better than any flyer, is better than any link that we can put up, because, and especially in the industry, and tell me if I'm wrong, Malik, there aren't a lot of people like you. There may be more because you're in it and you know, and I don't want to perpetuate negativity around anything, but bro, you, sir, very, you know, it's 9:50. We were supposed to be done at 9:30. The uniqueness of what you shared with us today about who you are, to me, only informs, if Vlad and Evelyn, I know her, if they're anything like you, bro, and well, this is so needed right now. This is needed with stories that need to be told. You talked about your brother's suicide. That's one of the things that we partner with Dee Dee's Cry. And so I need to connect you and Toy.
That's my girl, Toy. No, that's my girl. That's my sister. That's my, you know, I think she's older than me, so maybe she'll be my big sister.
I hope she's not on right now, because then I'm
saying that a lot because I know she's gonna hear it. But no, that's my girl. Like I reach out to her all the time. Like, you know, like, and again, we don't talk that often on that level, but I reach out with her with anything that I feel like I need to just catch up on a personal level, especially with Dee Dee's Cry doing the thing, you know what I mean? So there's people that have talked about suicide. Again, so I don't want nobody to look at me like, oh, this is this dude that's doing this and that. No, like I'm broken. You know what I mean? Like
broken. You were broken.
Yeah, I was broken. And I'll tell you one thing, when my brother was going through his suicide from like 15, 16 years old, right? Up, and I was me running to the house when he tried to hang himself, when he tried to electrocute himself, all these things, my mother calling me. And I couldn't figure in my mind, like, what's going on? I grew up in the same house with this kid, right? And that was the thing. So what I did, matter of fact, when I was working with Jordan Knight, right? He used to live in Prudential. Before I got to Jordan's house and I saw in the book, he had his self-help books, right? And I was like, yo, bro, I read all those, right? And that's weird to be in. This is production music stuff, right? But literally, we'd go down to the bookstore on lunch, and we'd go down there and go to self-help section. Now, I never told anyone that because that's what I did before I worked with Jordan. Right. I did that when I was listening to those doctors talking about what my brother was talking about, you know, electric shock treatments and all these different things. So it was me driving him to every doctor, every hospital with my mother. Right. Picking up my mother, going and doing that, trying to protect that situation. But I was so like I was out of my mind with the idea. And thank you for that comment. I was out of my mind with the idea that I understood what pain was, and I understood what he could be going through, but I didn't process it the same way, right? So I started going and reading these self-help books, literally, and I started having fun with it. When in Wentworth, I did pretty well at psychology, right? And I was like, maybe that's why I liked it. But then when I was reading certain cases in these books, literally I'd leave the hospital and go to the bookstore because I was determined to figure out what was going on. How can I help? And then I wanted to find out, how crazy am I? Right. So I read these cases in this book, and I still got these books here today. They come with me everywhere. Right. But literally I was like, oh, shoot, I've been through that. That was me. That was me. And what that told me was I was normal. Right. I was a normal person, because if these other people in the world dealt with that. Now, again, this is my optimistic way of looking at it. A lot of my friends will be like, yo, dude, you're too optimistic. I'm always optimistic, because if you go into a room, like, who goes in a room and looks for a dark switch, right? You always got to look for a light switch. You don't go into a dark room and look for, you got to look for something, right? So that was my way. And then working with Jordan was another level of like, oh, shoot, I didn't even know I could share this with someone. And I didn't tell anyone in my personal life for probably 10 years later, right? But that makes me, and now I feel like I just have a responsibility to share who I am, because authenticity is really what people want, right? And in music, if you're 10 years old and you're a dope songwriter, guess what? I need to tell you you're dope, and I need to glorify that, because that's your God's gift, right? So when I talk to young kids in school, I'm interested in figuring out who they are on the inside. First, I want to know what their interest is. Then I want to find out what they feel good about, what they do, right? And I want to be able to resonate with that somehow. Now, I have experience in business experience, so therefore, like, there's no shortcut to that at all. There's no shortcut to practicing and all that stuff, to the business, you know. So you have to learn, and a lot of this needs to be learned by real life, right? Which is the difference between a textbook. So I've done that, so I can kind of share that back and forth, but by no means does it negate who they are as an artist. They could be like on the same level as me all day long. It's just that I actually have something else which comes by experience, right?
Brother
so,
Malik, let's get here, because Evelyn is gonna wind up texting both of us. I'm sure you got a text.
Yeah.
So we had an idea of what we're going to get. We're going to get more of this. We're going to get skill set. What can people expect out of Saturday? And I do have one question. That is this going to be cast virtually? Because my team is in Atlanta. Part of my team is in Atlanta, and he's resonating with you on here around a lot of stuff. I need to do some back connections with you and the folks. But are you having a virtual option?
There's no virtual option for this, and I see Props comment on there, and we can definitely connect. So we can connect through you, however we need to make that happen.
Yep.
And again, part of the story I'm telling is when somebody gets there, who I am, right? So if you find nothing else in there, I can like introduce you to folks or whatever. Like, I don't mind doing that at all. But if you come there, there's going to be the different representatives from those organizations sharing more about, what they have to offer through their organizations, what resources are out there, training programs. All the unions are going to be there, SAG-AFTRA, IATSE, which is from hair and makeup, wardrobe, production, electrical, lighting, all those unions are going to be there. We're going to be talking about a pathway to actually get involved with those unions in other educational resources that are out there. So that's what they can really expect. And we're going to hopefully share about the different opportunities that actually will connect with what you're doing already with your personal skill sets that you have right now. Like I was saying, like, different, again, the set design and hair and makeup, those are kind of the typical ones. There's a lot of other ones, from, again, electrical. So some people might have that background and they can actually come in and work on set. So there's going to be an array. I look at it like, if you think about all those names at the end of a film, right? Understanding what are those names? What are those jobs? How does that apply to me? What do I already have? What skill set? And it's not about younger kids solely, so we're saying like 17 and over, but we're hoping that to have people 18, let's say that, out of high school, that can get around, whether or not they have a car or a parent or a friend that could drive them around. But that has to be something that they can depend on, right? Somebody that really wants to get in, because the educational portion of it is something else that we're going to be working on as well post this event, right? So people that want to come in and say, hey, I don't know anything about any of this, so I want to learn. And that's the person that we want to be able to connect with and stay in touch with. Therefore, that's why it's even called the Connect, because we're trying to connect with those people in our community that might not know that they could work on a film right now,
and not be a actor or actress, but they can be a writer, a composer, a boom operator, a lighting person, all of that.
Right. And on that note, I was just going to say that there's going to be other filmmakers there as well from our community, right? So if they are an actor or a writer or anything else, that's going to be also another opportunity. We're just focusing on like the unknowns, right? Because being in the room, the networking opportunity is going to be great, you know. And we're on social media on you know, Instagram, you know, Secret Society of Black Creatives. On Facebook, you can catch us there. You know, I'm Malik Mason Williams, you know, at Malik Mason Williams on Instagram. My music company is Real Sync Music, which is this that I got on right now. So Real Sync Music. So I do music licensing. So for film and TV and advertising and all that. So that's my, you know, my personal creative lane that I'm in, outside of this community lane.
So we have Evelyn is making sure that producers can come. Will there be an advantage for illustrators?
Yeah, Vlad is an illustrator, so come up and hang out with Vlad. And you know, again,
ask a favor. Can Charlotte is awesome photographer as well. Some of the pictures that you said you saw about the event on Saturday, she took a good portion of them.
Nice.
But if he gets there, I am doing my best to try to come. Even if I'll coordinate with Charlotte, but if I can get you to introduce him to Vlad, that would be awesome, because this is
absolutely,
absolutely. So I'll follow up with you. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm going to definitely pop in. I, you know, not in the film industry, but as I said, delving into this, you know, media space. You know, I'm embracing it a little bit more. You definitely have encouraged me around just doing better with the branding and things like that. So Malik, there is so I didn't mean for us to go this long. There is just so much that I think that, one, you needed to get out, and two, as far as needing to get out in a manner that people know there's so much more to you and the Secret Society of Black Creatives. Y'all have membership, or what? Like, how does it work?
Well, we're going to be working towards that right now. We were secret for like a year, right? And because we're working on our structure and partnerships and things like that. And now, again, anyone that reaches out, we're trying to funnel information to them at this point. We are going to be working towards the membership as well. And we're not quite sure what that's going to look like at this point. Right now, we need to create awareness, you know, and that's why I'm giving people my backstory of who I am, right? I'm an extension of you in this community. Right. I'm not anything more than that. So if somebody sees me and yell like, yo, Malik, you know, right.
Yo, they want to look. They may not do it in real life.
Yeah.
But look, can we friend request you on Facebook?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to connect with
you and Props as well with Big Session. He has this track and whole thing called the whole thing on, bro. If you see the whole thing on film, you think Props did well with the intro and stuff there. I'll Props, you already know. I'll connect you two.
You got the right name. You got the right name, at least.
He is all this branding here. This is all.
Yeah, no, it's dope, man. I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad. Like, I mean, I saw your, you know, some videos and everything online, but it's a little different being behind the scenes, you know, like backstage, you know, anticipating like when we're gonna go on. But it was the value. I found that the value was a higher quality.
Listen, this Malik, I'm sure he's probably been there. If not, he needs to be. I'm sure you know Prince Charles Alexander.
Yeah, I called him. I'm not sure if he's going to show up. It's his birthday that day. He was sure to tell me that. But yeah, he's another dope brother in the community.
Humble, and just he's Malik. Yeah. We got to get off of here. It's 10:02. Jesus.
Right. So somebody left a message on Berkeley, and I'd love to come out and talk. So, but absolutely.
That's in, well, I'm a little old school. Some of the folks have moved on from when I had connections there, but I'm sure you know names like Mark Copeland, who is awesome. Yeah. So that's insane. They need you up at Berkeley. Malik, we need to we need to go break bread very, very soon.
I'd love to. There's a lot going on. I'd love to share.
There is, and there is opportunities too where I think that we can take stories that have been told here and present them in a excellent theatrical documentary sort of manner, where that pulls people in. They watch, but they don't understand the messaging that they're hearing at the same time. And it gives them the ability to know that they're not the only one, as you said, that's going through it. Bro, I appreciate you so much. Evelyn, did we what is it? Did we meet the assignment, Evelyn? Can we get a thumbs up or something just to make sure? Because Evelyn was telling us to get busy. So Charlotte, I'll follow up with you. I'm going to go and register. Malik, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you as well.
I was inspired today, man, just by hearing just like who you are and your authenticity. You touched on so many tenets of what the Java Cafe is. And so, and I'll share with you that sort of road offline, and I appreciate you, sir. And so we can go now because Evelyn said that we met the assignment. So
okay, good.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, man. I'm going to
very much.
the bills, and I'll be in contact with you within like the next couple hours via email.
Okay, please do. I'll look out for that, and I look forward to catching back up
and I'll
again.
see you on Saturday.
Sounds good.
All right,
Thank
sir.
You, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., Marvin Vinay from the Lord Jesus, the Timothy Smith. Oh God. Why am I getting texts from people? Y'all don't tell me, DL. I'm getting texts. Redirect him back to the event. Redirect him back to the event. Listen, this brother, y'all don't know what he did for me today. DL, I got your text. DL and Evelyn. DL's like, redirect back to the event. This was so, and then DL, I'm sure you get it. You know me well. This brother. I just, yeah. I'm going to get off of here. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Marvin Vinay, I believe is from the Lord Jesus. Oh, Jesus. It is the Tech Goes Home program. Marvin Vinay will be here with us tomorrow at 9 a.m. Yeah, and that ain't often, Laney. Well, I don't have nothing to say. He poured out and poured in. He did, whether he knows it or not. Oh, Jesus. If you were part of the UCB points program, Pastor Sharon Cornelius said that you all get an hour and a half today for your time in this community space. All right, I got to get off of here. I'm going to go decompress for about a half an hour and then get back and get folks connected. Don't forget Marvin Vinay will be here with us tomorrow. Right now, the date is April 27th, but I have worked with the mayor's office and beginning in April, Michelle Wu is going to start joining us on We Need to Know Wednesdays once a month. She's going to check in with this Black and Brown local community platform once a month. The mayor is going to come in for half an hour and we're going to talk, get updates about what's going on, and then hear from you, some of the things that we need to keep on her radar. And so I just got a soft confirmation today for April 27th. And I think the team did, hold on, because I seen Tay send an email. I asked her to confirm to make sure that that date is open. And yes, 427 is open. So I think the mayor will be with us in just about a month or so. I want to keep it to Wednesdays and keep it consistent. And so the 6th, we're booked. The 13th, I'm waiting on someone. The 20th didn't work for her. So we're all the way till the 27th. And so that's going to be coming down the pike. This summer, we're doing a wellness Java on the waterfront. Haven't decided exactly where, but it's going to be on somewhere, Boston's waterfront. Also, don't forget, we're looking at June 19th for the yoga in the park with Yoga Mike and Bourne. We made a update and an announcement on Saturday. about getting that money we raised right here, $1,250. That money is now up to $3,000. And so 300 people so far will be able to come to that event for free. And I think that is it for me. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'm tired. That man wore me out, Jesus. I was really inspired. Really, really inspired. Evelyn, thank you for the connect. Evelyn and I were connecting for a couple of years and just got connected a few months ago. And timing is everything. There's other things that she's pulling me into, and yeah. All right, I'm off of here, y'all. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Make it a great day. To all my sisters that this topic of hair, and especially those that are dealing with alopecia, you're beautiful no matter what. And I know there's a lot, and Carlos brought it up yesterday as far as hair, but long hair, weave, no hair, short hair, natural hair, extensions, bald, you're beautiful. And please do your best to try to move in Black joy despite what's going on in the media and topics in reference to Jada's revealing her dealing with it. I just want to mention that for our sisters. All right, guys, I'm off of here. Have a wonderful testimony Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Peace.